Because right now, going in Texas, most of the locations are I'm a big focus on right now. But, so I'm still a volunteer and a resource.
I'm for the Denise, for the weekend.
I'm not. I am. I've got my company's business. Well, my wife's actually got Cool. I see you don't support me on Wiki. No, I'm actually I saw that. Something like that. Cool.
Well, the topic is great.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the. Yes. Okay.
Can you bring your drink in here?
Yeah.
saying she can't help me. She brings up on everything I got to.
Yeah. Well, wherever you feel inspiration to get people to understand your background, your background, so oh, that especially actually for your experience for who you're talking to. So yeah, here, love to hear about that stuff. So go for it.
After she does all that, she comes down.
When I finish my.
The goal was 8:30 to be done with the formal program, and then
We're trying to have that. I know you got your hands up. She's holding about 20 minutes of that. Oh, if you're on the law, that's right. And if you're decent, that's a lot. I really appreciate you.
this is my wife, Kayla.
Hi. I just put a mint. You too. Thank you. Got to know a little bit of the one, but now I've got to know even better. Aw, thank you. Right, Bobby. He does okay. We have one. Yeah, this is so good.
I'm buying that.
I have four also. Yeah. Both look so good. Thank you.
Thanks. She's 37. I'll be 37 in a couple weeks.
This is
We're not excited that we're done, but
it's like 5 long days all at the same time. I don't either. But
I'm going to sit towards the back side. So I'm going to sit back here.
we are recording
yeah,
this
it's a little bit
just to make sure
loud.
I'll be posting later tonight. You can feel free to use whatever you like.
Wonderful, thank you.
Ready to go?
One, two, three. Sounded good back there, Tim? All right. Thanks for coming in, everybody. We're going to get rolling. I was hoping a few more people might come, so we're delaying just a little bit. But we're going to get rolling because it is about 10, 12 after. So I appreciate everyone who has come. If we haven't met, my name is Jeremiah Hunter. I'm the chair of Longview Tea Party. Let's go ahead and get cranking with prayer and pledges. So if you would please stand. If you bow with me. Lord Jesus, we thank you for bringing everybody here this evening. We ask you to be with those who couldn't make it. We want to thank you for allowing us the freedoms that we do enjoy to gather together in your name and to discuss issues relevant to our day. We ask you to be with us this evening. Pray that your wisdom would be infused in us this evening. And keep us all safe until we meet again. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. If you would join me in pledges to the United States and Texas flags, we have the United States flag here and the Texas flag over here. We'll start with the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The flag to the great state, or pledge to the flag of the great state of Texas. If you're unfamiliar, the words are on the screen. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Well, we have a really good meeting this evening. Pretty excited about it. The focus of this evening is the Republican Party of Texas State Convention that is happening next week in San Antonio. If you are a delegate and planning on attending, would you please raise your hand? Very good. All right, just about everybody. That's awesome. For those of you who are not delegates, I appreciate you coming, even though I did announce ahead of time this was going to be focused on that. But even if you're not a delegate who's attending, it's very important to understand what happens at State Convention because it really does affect us in ways that you may be unfamiliar with. The Republican Party of Texas is the largest political party in the country and really does have an effect on conservative policy. I am a very open supporter, and in fact I'm a volunteer on the campaign team of State Chairman James Dickey, and I try to be very transparent about that so that everyone knows where I'm coming from personally. But the leadership of the party has been very effective at advancing conservative policy with our state legislators. And so some people may say, well, this isn't a Republican Party rally, why are we talking about it? And the reason we're talking about it is because of conservative policy. Our group does exist to advance conservative policy, and here in Texas we are fortunate that our official Republican Party organization does very good and is doing better all the time in advancing conservative policy. So it is kind of a balance. Yes, we're not here to be a mouthpiece for the Republican Party of Texas. However, as a gathering of conservatives, we want to make sure and support other organizations that are advancing our common goals. So that's kind of the balance there. So with that said, we have a couple of speakers that I'm going to bring up first, and then our featured speakers for this evening are going to be Bob Kecseg from Wood County, who's running for the State Republican Executive Committee for Senate District 1, and then Denise McNamara from Dallas, who is running for State Party Vice Chair. And so I will let them have the bulk of the time, and they can describe the position they're running for, their experience that's relevant for what they're doing, and then we will have some Q&A time with both of them as well. But first, I wanted to bring up a young man who's just moved to the area. Josh Siegel has just been hired as the Ted Cruz for Senate. Let's see, your title is Regional Field Director for the Ted Cruz for Senate campaign. I want to give him a few minutes to introduce himself, describe what he's here to do, and then definitely want to encourage all of you to plug in with him, get engaged on how we can get involved with the Ted Cruz Senate campaign. So, Josh, you have the
Thank you. As you said, I am new to the area. I was born and raised in Virginia, moved down here 2 weeks ago. I was trying to describe to someone like where my apartment building was, and I was like, oh, it's by a church. Then I realized every single apartment complex in the East Texas is by a church, so that was a little awkward. But it's been great so far. I've been really blessed to be out here. It's been so welcoming, and I'm truly honored. I really jumped at the opportunity to kind of come out here to Texas for this election because Texas is honestly on the national stage. Ted Cruz's candidate, Beto O'Rourke, has raised $8 million, which is more than double the next closest candidate in any election for any race in November. And that's not all from Texas, so people really want to see the most conservative state in America. He's not going to win, but they want to see it take a hit. They want to see it falter and some fault in the arm of the greatest conservative state in our union. So it's been kind of a whirlwind for me getting down here, kind of getting used to the area. But my job as East Texas Regional Field Director will be to kind of get volunteers out and in action. We had a day of action on Saturday, and with that we had really pretty successful day engaging with the community, kind of getting out there, knocking on doors, making phone calls, doing phone banks and such. So that's been great. We're trying to build off of that. I just started, so I'm really trying to get to know people out here. I was talking to Marty out in Gregg County for having events for phone banking. Right now we're going to start with 1 day a week. I think we talked about Wednesday, but Thursday might work better if we can work that out from like 6 to 8. It's only 2 hours out of your week. Come in. It's on an app, pretty simple stuff. Click through it, make phone calls. It even masks your phone number so people won't be calling you back at all hours of the day trying to see why you called them. Really simple stuff just to kind of get our volunteer base up out here in East Texas because I'm kind of behind the 8 ball just in terms of recruitment. And on top of that, The closest person I know is Dallas, other than Marty, of course, so it's been a bit of an adjustment. And yeah, I'm just looking to make connections. So if you could come talk to me afterwards if you're interested in volunteering, that'd be great. And thank you again. I really am blessed to be out here. This is a fantastic area. Not only is it pretty, but the food's great, and everyone is so much nicer than in Virginia where I'm from even. So thank you again, and I'd love to get to know you if you have a minute afterwards. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Josh. Yeah, I just want to reiterate what he was saying. It's very important to get involved. I was at a meeting on Saturday. The reason I did not take part in the Day of Action is because I was doing my own action in Temple. Joanne Fleming had sponsored a meeting, a statewide meeting of grassroots leaders that she does a couple of times a year. And that meeting was scheduled way in advance of the Day of Action, so that's all that was. But Ted Cruz did come to our meeting, and he spoke for almost an hour. It was about 45 minutes to an hour, and then, of course, questions after that. And he just kind of laid it out to us. And yes, there's every reason to believe that Ted is going to win his race. But in this case, we're facing a situation of it matters how he wins, not just that he wins. If you think of 2018, it's a precursor really to 2020. If the Democrats make sizable gains in their election margins in 2018, they will, within Texas specifically, they will be so much more motivated to pour a ton of money into the 2020 election. Not just for president, but also for other races, statewide offices. And then even, it's no secret that George Soros and some of his ilk are starting to focus on county-level DA races. Now, I'm not saying we saw that here in Gregg County. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying in the major metropolitan areas, there was money that was coming in to help elect Democrat, and not just Democrat, but outright socialist Marxist DAs who do not believe in the rule of law. They believe in the rule of man, which is a very big difference. And that wing of extremists are really changing their tactics of not just trying to elect someone for president, but they're really focusing on local offices. I myself will have something to say about that a little bit later, as I promised on our meeting announcement. But anyway, getting back into, it's important that we help with Republican victories in 2018, that we have as wide a margin as possible. So the governor's race, of course, and the Senate race. Because if the Democrats show any sizable gains and keep those margins a little bit closer, 2020 will be an entirely different thing. Also, what Ted talked about was not just here in Texas, but of course what's going on around the country. And he just laid it out for us without trying to be scaremongering anything. He said there are legitimate fears that we could lose the House of Representatives and we could lose the Senate. There are scenarios by which that may happen. Here's the problem. If we lose the House of Representatives, all right, the day Nancy Pelosi gets sworn in as Speaker is the day that impeachment charges get filed against Donald Trump, all right? Whatever you think of Donald Trump, all right, if the Democrats file impeachment charges against him, that causes a whole series of events by which all of the positives that have occurred just start getting totally torn apart. They will launch federal investigations in every federal department, which will then gum up the progress being made there. Again, whatever you think about how it's being accomplished or any of that, the fact is the Democrats are so bent on regaining power, and that if they regain any sort of power, they're just going to completely destroy whatever has been done. So that's just important to keep in mind. So yes, we're going to win, but it matters how we win, and we need to really push the accelerator. Now is not the time to say, oh, well, Donald Trump's president and everything's good. No, it's not good. It's really not. And again, I'll have more to say about that for local efforts here in a little bit more. Next, I wanted to bring up Mr. G. Floyd, who is running for he is the Republican nominee for Gregg County Precinct 4 Commissioner. And so he will be on the ballot in November, and he came here, and so I wanted to give him a few minutes to come and introduce himself to those of you who haven't yet met him, and he can speak for a little bit about his race as well on the local level.
Good evening, everyone. My name is G. Floyd, and I'm running for the office of County Commissioner Precinct 4 here in Gregg County. And I want to say that I'm happy about what's going on now. With the employment numbers lower than have been in a long time. Also, the economy is running at a very high rate right now. And so job growth, creation, all of that's good. So I think that says that we're going to do very well in the election. Amen. Because when people vote, they vote on pocketbook issues. There's a whole lot of other things they can vote for, but they vote on pocketbook issues and why and how they are doing. And so that question always comes up, how well are you doing? How has the president improved that? And so when you get that question as a yes, an answer that's good, I think that's a winner right there. Amen. So be sure that we emphasize that things are going well. Let me say to you, again, I am a working candidate for Precinct 4, and it's been a while since someone who is a Republican ran for this office. I talked to Kirk Shields, the current tax assessor collector for Gregg County. He said he ran for the same office, and he was not successful. I told him, just watch me, and we're going to make it happen for you, okay? And because I believe that we have a very good shot here. Let me talk to you very quickly about a number of issues, and I hope I don't go too rapidly here for you. But locally, as far as issues with Gregg County Precinct 4, you have one of the best run counties in the state of Texas. And I can tell you that right now. 14 years, no debt. Very few counties in the state of Texas can say it. 14 years, no debt. I like the way Judge Stout and the commissioners have run it, and they have allowed us to be able to have one of the lowest tax rates in the state and have no debt. It's a pay-as-you-go system that they have in place, and I believe that's the way to go. And again, when we look at the fact that we have a $48 million budget, but in reserve we have $56 million in reserve. And so we can pay for what we want to do. And that makes a difference right there. And again, I say I'm a fiscal conservative. I would like that. Somebody said that if a person is elected office, they'll probably run the office or whatever similar to the way that they run their personal business. Well, I'll tell you right now, I have an 800 credit rating, and so I'm not going to mess your money up anyway. We're going to be sure to do that, and I don't mind telling people that, because that's what you want. When you do it that way, you don't have any problem. I support Governor Abbott's initiative of limiting tax increases. Anything more than 2% should go to the voters. Anytime that's happened on any level, it should go to the voters, and then they should decide whether or not to implement that tax increase. So that's a good thing. We're going to limit it that way. Let me talk to you very briefly about some of my qualifications. I go to the county commissioners meeting every time. For the last 2 years, I probably haven't missed very many of those meetings. So I know the issues, I know the things that are going on with the county. When they implemented the new payroll system, the changes in healthcare, the different projects that they have worked on, I was right there. So I knew about those things, and I discussed them with some of the department heads. So no other candidate has even come close to having a knowledge of what's actually going on with the county. I know all of the heads of the 12 departments of the county. I talk to them also. I probably shake hands with all of them on a regular basis. So I know them and they know me. As far as my education, I have an Associate of Applied Science in Mechanical Engineering Technology. As a Road and Bridge Commissioner, you're way ahead of everybody else if you already have a degree in engineering. I already have that. I may not look it, but I got it 33 years ago. Yes, I finished that 33 years ago. Since then, I've also have completed some other education. I spent 21 years as a certified educator in the state of Texas. So I'm a teacher also. I have been a licensed and ordained minister in the Baptist Church for 29 years. And I think that speaks to the morals and character. Some of the other experiences that I've had, I actually worked with the commissioner previously that's already been in the office. So I've actually been there and actually worked with them actually doing the job. So that makes a very much a difference too. And again, not only you know me from having attended county commissioners meetings, also city council meetings also. So regularly, I talk to and shake hands with the mayor and all the city council persons too. In addition, I'll tell you this, I haven't missed a Longview IT school board meeting since June of 2010. So you talk about stamina and commitment, that's that. I've been going to the city council meetings since February of 2011. I've missed very few of those meetings also. So when it comes to knowing the people who are in the decision-making position, I know them, and they know me. So that makes a difference. So they can vouch for my character. I also, for the first time, a candidate for Precinct 4 Commissioner attended Kecseg City Council meeting. They said they have never seen the Precinct 4 Commissioner attend a City Council meeting. I've already attended 3. So Mayor Spradlin and all of those, they already know who I am too. I've talked to them, including the police chief and other people in Kecseg, Lakeport, and all of those areas. Again, you've heard about the election fraud that has been going on in the area, and you know about the mail-in ballots. And I can say this to you, I've run 3 campaigns. I have never been accused, no allegations of any fraud of any kind. The other fellow has been accused of fraud every time. Every time. At no time he ever been in an election and been accused of running fraud, especially with the mail-in ballot. I'm thankful for Senator Hughes, J. Dean, Representative J. Dean, and the other local officials who said we're going to clean it up. Last time, we're not going to allow that to go through, and we're going to make a difference with that too. And so that makes a difference. That is, your vote will count. It's not going to be diminished by other people who are out there doing those all kind of different election fraud. And I say this to you, if you want to know who I am, I would say to you this, because I can prove it from the previous election. I would rather lose clean than win dirty. That's all it is to it. And so that's why I run on the slogan, Christian values, personal integrity, and credible character. That's all in there. And again, I stand on all of that because that's what I want to represent you as. I want you to be represented by somebody with good moral character that understands what is to be done and gets it done for you. I also forget to tell you that I have a master's degree in business administration with a graduate certificate in financial analysis. So we need to support the budgeting of the county and the different departments that submit their budget. I can read it and I don't even know what to understand. So I do accounting also. So again, you want somebody that's competent, somebody that's qualified, somebody that has good character and good morals. You're looking at the right fellow. G. Floyd is my name. I ask you to do 4 things for me very quickly. Pray for me. Let the campaign be successful. Volunteer if you can, donate if you can, and then vote on that day, November 6th, 2018. And I sure would appreciate your support. Thank you again for the time this summer.
All right, Mr. Floyd will be hanging out, so if you want to catch him after the meeting to ask him any questions or follow up with him at all, and definitely your friends in Gregg County Precinct 4 will make sure that they know about Mr. Floyd's campaign, know that there is a Republican running in Precinct 4, and we also have Mr. Darren Rudolph, who is running for Precinct 4 JP, and Mr. Rudolph is actually running to make history. There has never been a Republican Justice of the Peace in Gregg County Precinct 4. Never. In the entire history of Gregg County. And so he's looking to change that. And I guess it's been a long time since there's been a Republican commissioner, so you're also looking to make some history as well. And so encourage your friends who live in the area to get involved. Again, every race matters, from the local level all the way to the federal races. I wanted to quickly let you guys know, if you haven't been paying attention to the news today, the Supreme Court did rule in favor of the baker from Colorado who got sued for refusing to bake a cake for a gay wedding. That case did get all the way to the Supreme Court. The decision came down today. Fortunately, it was 7-2 in favor, so none of this 5-4 wishy-washy stuff. The court clearly saw what the case was, which was religious discrimination and violation of free speech. And so we're very thankful that amidst the sea of bad news lately, that the Supreme Court every once in a while gets something right. And so just wanted to make sure you all were aware of that. And Alliance Defending Freedom was the organization that helped defend Mr. His name just flew out of my head. Can anybody remember the guy's name? Jack Phillips. Thank you very much. And ADF was helping defend him, and so I'm actually working on getting a representative from ADF to come in and speak to us about the case, especially now that it's finished, because that's really a landmark case. It's really one of the first times that somebody got sued and hauled into court for not doing something. It's like normally, and really, laws should be written that tell you you're going to be punished if you do something that is supposedly injurious to someone else or infringement on their rights. This time, he got hauled into court for saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I kind of identify with the guy because at a very low level, I actually experienced that where I was in a job and my boss asked me to do something that was going to break the law. And I told him, no, I'm not going to do that. And so he fired me. And so it's one of the few times where I can say, well, I was proud to get fired. And in fact, it was a federal law. He was asking me to break, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. He said, okay, you don't have a job anymore. And I said, okay, that's fine. Long story short, that's actually what led me to Texas, so thank you, Lord. But, Mr. Floyd, did you have something to say?
Yeah, real quickly. They invalidated the Colorado state law that and also they said the commission that was in charge of implementing that had open hostility toward religious beliefs. And so that's why part of the reason why they moved the business that they just against religious beliefs altogether.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, you're saying that, and I'm remembering some of the comments by the Colorado Commissioner for Civil Rights. Imagine a title for that. The guy openly called Mr. Phillips a Nazi, compared him to Hitler because he refused to violate his sincerely held religious beliefs. Folks, that's the day and age we live in, where people who just want to impose their beliefs on everyone else, yet tell us who actually believe there's a God and that the proper definition of marriage is one man, one woman for life, that somehow we're the bigots. And anyway, it's just a messed up situation, but we're thankful with that. And yes, so Colorado state law was found to be invalid to say no. I mean, that law was an infringement on this man's rights, so we're thankful for that. All right, well, that's enough rambling from me. I next want to bring up Mr. Bob Kecseg, who is running for State Republican Executive Committee at next week's convention down in Austin. And you delegates who are, as long as you're a delegate in SD1, you will be, that's one of the votes that we will be deciding there at convention. So I wanted to have Bob come up and introduce himself, speak for a little bit about his qualifications and why he's running. Full disclosure, I, as an individual, have endorsed him for the position. In my capacity as a delegate from Gregg County to the state convention, I have endorsed Bob in his race for that. Again, We the People, as an organization presently, does not endorse in candidates or races, but I myself have. And so just wanted to be clear on that for those of you who didn't know. But anyway, Bob, come on up and...
Thank you, Jeremiah. It's nice to be with you. My name is Robert Kecseg. I live in Wood County. Absolutely love East Texas. I was going to say, thinking of endorsements, I am not going to neglect Marty Rhymes, who is the vice chair for Gregg County, has also endorsed my candidacy for the SREC. Let me say a little something about what that is. I think it might be a little unclear to some folks. If it isn't, then you already know. But this State Republican Executive Committee is made up of 2 persons in each Senate district. And of course, in Texas, we have 31 senators. Ours is an easy number to remember, Senate District 1. Our Senate District 1 is about 16 counties. It goes all the way from the Oklahoma border, along the Arkansas-Louisiana border, down to Rusk County, Smith County at the southern part. So 16 counties in all. It's, like I say, comprised of 1 man and 1 woman. Currently, the lady is Sue Evanwell, who's the county chair for Titus County in the Mount Pleasant area. And she has been active in the Republican Party for a long time. She's finishing out her, I think her last 2-year term coming forward, and she's unopposed. The man, it's called the committee man, is Dennis Cable from Smith County, and he's pastor of a church, and with the growth of his church and so forth, he didn't feel like he could dedicate as much time to both, so he's not going to run for re-election. And that reminds me of something else about endorsing. Sue knew me from the beginning for quite a number of years. And so when I told her that I was considering running for this office, she was very positive about it, invited me down to the next SREC meeting in Austin. Would be the last meeting before the convention to kind of see what takes place and get an idea for it. And for me, I just thought it was really the perfect time and perfect thing for me to do. I'd never run for office before of any kind. And in the case of Dennis, he didn't know me at all. And what I'm really proud of, I think it's honorable, that he really wanted to get to know me, find out who I was, and also see if there was going to be another opponent. Smith County is the largest delegation in Senate District 1. I think it's somewhere around 20-25% of the delegates, somewhere in that neighborhood. And sure enough, there was an opponent that came from Smith County. And by that time, Dennis had a chance to visit with other people that knew me for a longer period of time, and also we had a chance to visit some more. And it was after that that he decided to endorse me as well. So both of the sitting SREC committee woman and committee man are endorsing me for this office, which I find a great honor, truly an honor. I picked up a little cold. I was going to say my beginnings in being interested in politics goes back to Ronald Reagan when I was 28 years old, 1980. And of course, I was in the Air Force then, stationed in Warner Robins, Georgia. And as you remember, his opponent was the former governor of Georgia, Jimmy Carter. And so it wasn't the greatest place to start a grassroots campaign for what was to become President Reagan. But being in the Air Force, I came up with the idea maybe I could get absentee ballots for the guys in the squadron, because most of us residency was in another state. So that's kind of how I got started, just find a way to do something to help. And taking us up to the present, I've been involved in campaigns. Been involved in campaigns in Irving, going back to the Dick Armey days. I was in his district when he was congressman, became majority leader of the House during Reagan's time. School board positions, supported candidates for school board positions, city councils, mayors. Out in our area here, when Brian Hughes went for the Senate District 1 Senate seat and got it, I got behind Cole Hefner very strongly and helped him get that seat that Brian had left behind. So that's kind of been my involvement. In addition, the sheriff of Wood County, where I live, ended up winning. It started off with 4 candidates for sheriff, then a 2-person runoff, and he won the sheriff's position by 22 votes. I've seen a lot of close votes. Matt Rinaldi is one of the most conservative state reps out of the 150 reps in the state Texas House. Scores 100 at Empower Texans every year. He first won by a little over 100 votes. So as the gentleman that was running for the commissioner said, we have to get out the vote. As Josh was mentioning for Senator Cruz, and I heard Senator Cruz speak as well, or Jeremiah were at that leaders conference in Temple, that it's going to be a matter of turnout. What kind of turnout do we get? So that's kind of been my background, is assisting people in their candidacy. And so in that process, I try to be diligent in who I support. So I want to let people know who I am. You're welcome to contact me through my card and get in touch with me via email. I'd be happy to talk to you for as long as you'd like to vet me and understand what I stand for. I am one of those people who sees our party, the Republican Party, being one of the old establishment. I think Rush Limbaugh maybe had coined that word early on, the establishment versus the conservatives. And in our state house, there's plenty of room for more conservatives. Our own Matt Schaefer from Smith County is one of the most conservative state reps, founded the Freedom Caucus. There are 12 members out of the some 95 Republicans in the state house that are part of the Freedom Caucus. So we got a lot of room to grow that. I was going to say, as far as the SREC job goes, the work of the SREC, which, remember, 31 Senate districts, a man and a woman from each, so that's 62 people. They meet 4 times a year. They have a resolutions committee, they have a rules committee, and of course a platform committee. And it's kind of an ongoing convention, if you will, of those representatives from each of the Senate districts that are trying to improve the platform, trying to improve the rules, and putting forth resolutions to try to steer our legislature in certain directions. So it's really kind of, again, the perfect thing for me because I'm really kind of a policy wonk. I like to learn about the ins and outs of what type of legislation they're pushing. So I listed a handful of things on my card that I passed out to you about the platform. Those are all parts of the platform. I just highlighted, I think, 4 or 5. One of those is defunding Planned Parenthood. I think that being Texans first, I guess I should say believers first, and Texans, we are far different from a lot of other states. And I think it's a real blessing that our founders gave us the separate sovereign states. It doesn't seem that way anymore with a lot of Supreme Court rulings where they somehow they found marriage in the Constitution. Boy, I read it, I don't find it there at all. It's supposed to be left to the states. But if you think about it, California is obviously the most populous state. Lots of people. If there's that many people there, you better believe there's lots of Republicans and there's lots of conservative Republicans. But I ask you this rhetorical question. If you were a conservative Republican in California, what would your chances be of defunding Planned Parenthood? Would you have any kind of a chance for it at all? No wonder people are leaving California in droves. So now I take you to Texas. Texas has been funding Planned Parenthood. Now there's a reprieve for 2 years. I spoke to Texas Right to Life to make sure I had my information correct. But in 2 years it sunsets and it comes up for battle again. So there you have it. I say very strongly that that's something that we should get done. Something that we should get done. And one of my thoughts about taking this position is to find paths, find a way to get things done. You know, it's one thing for us to talk about, we could all sit down and talk together about all the problems and the things we're unhappy about. That's one thing. But I'm always looking for the solution. What is the solution? What is the path to be able to get there? And I think that through the SREC, influencing the legislature, try to find a way to start off with something as simple as that, as defunding Planned Parenthood. The constitutional carry issue is another dominant one. It's amazing that we have to fight for constitutional arms carry, but that is it. And property tax reform, extremely important, extremely out of control. I don't want to digress in all of these issues. I want to end with Rule 44. This is a rule that the SREC put together not all that long ago. And it is basically a censure rule that if an elected official in the legislature is going against the platform, specifically against the platform, then it's possible that they could be censured. Basically, it's an admonishment. Well, that took place in the last SREC, and that's a very significant event. I must say that it was a motivating factor for me. I thought, this is the right time and the right place for another to speak up and be a voice for these kind of things, for our liberty. And the Rule 44 censure of the Speaker of the House, Joe Strauss, to me was a huge gain. And it's something that we should really, really applaud. And I'll tell you, it didn't come from osmosis. It came from leadership. Thus far, I haven't spoken out a lot about this state party chair race. But tonight, I'm going to do that. Looking at the research in the recent history, our state party chair, James Dickey, got his position by a very, very tiny, narrow margin. When I spoke with our SREC members, Sue and Dennis, they told me that since his leadership, the way the votes have moved in that 62-person body is much more conservative. So people in the body, many of the same people, are voting more to the right, which has always been my theme song. Get in the party, push it to the right. Just marginally push. Because we know there's push going the other way. We don't have to get past too far into the bathrooms and the rest of that baloney. But I really think that we have a real opportunity with James Dickey, because I think he's what I call more of a citizen candidate in my mind, instead of a political animal. And wouldn't you know it, he finishes out the term because the prior chair resigned in the middle of the term, and now comes to the end. So I guess it's been about 11 months, close to 12 months that he's been in office. And of course now the term starts again. So he's up for re-election. And there's somebody running against him. Come to find out that it's really a backing of the previous chair that resigned is involved in backing this lady to oppose him. So I'm coming out foursquare and saying, these votes for persons like myself, the vice chair that's going to speak, vice chair candidate that's going to speak later, and our chair for you delegates is really, really important to understand who the real conservatives are. People who believe in liberty on their forehead. So, Rule 44, I can't say enough about it. I was going to say, there's been a number of leaders in the Smith County area that have also, Smith County Republican area, that have endorsed me as well. It's been really a great boost of confidence for people to want to put their name and back me. Matt Schaefer, who, like I say, is one of the most conservative state reps, has given me permission to say that he supports me 100%. And by the way, Matt Schaefer, state rep, is the founder of the Freedom Caucus. So you can't get more, to me, you can't get more conservative credentials than that. So the bottom line I'm saying is, going forward, it's going to be much about leadership. I've given the accolades to the current party chair, given accolades to our SEC members that are there now. And I think that the fact that both of them saw fit to endorse me means they don't want their votes to change. They want the same type of attitude. I'll just give you an example. When I was down there for that one meeting, they debated for quite a long time about the log cabin Republicans. Log cabin Republicans are, I believe, gay men that wanted to have a booth at the convention. So you had these pros and cons, and when you listen to people go into the microphone, all 62 of them can go up to the microphone whenever they want to express their feelings about this. So here's this open expression on both sides. You would have thought it was kind of 50-50 from as many people spoke about it. It took quite a long time before the end of the debate. When it came time to vote, and everybody's on the record for how they voted, it was 2/3 no. They weren't going to allow them to have a booth and advertise their lifestyle, the convention, and 1/3 for. So, like I say, that was a sign to me of what the two current reps were telling me, that things have improved in the SREC, and I want to help continue that. So if anybody has any questions or wants to contact me, I really appreciate your vote. My name's Robert Kecseg, and of course only delegates that go to the convention can vote for my position. Thanks for having me here today.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. Definitely, if you have more questions, make sure to catch him afterwards here. I'm going to speak really quickly, and then we're going to have Denise come on up and speak to her race that's happening next week. Am I correct, in the SD1 caucus we will have electronic voting? Am I correct on that? Yes. In our SD1 caucus meetings, we will have electronic voting, and so that's going to make things go a lot quicker, and so that's an exciting advancement that was made. Each Senate district was given the opportunity to fund the cost of getting electronic voting for their SD caucus meetings at state convention. So that's going to be something cool, kind of some new technology that's being introduced. So should be gone of the days when we have 6-hour caucus meetings when the votes can just be almost instantaneous. So that's going to speed, it speed things up really quickly. Wanted to let you guys know, something I did today was I called the governor's office in response to his proposals about these gun safety regulations that he has proposed in response to the Santa Fe shooting. I want you guys to know that I called and opposed every single one of them, and I wanted the governor to know about that. I hope the fact that I called from Longview will speak some volumes to him. Unfortunately, there are severe doubts that he has decided, and this is not a bash Governor Abbott session, this is saying I oppose this proposal. So let's not get too overboard about any of that. I've already had one person accuse me of being against Governor Abbott because I've said something that I'm against something he's proposed. If you're not familiar with the requirements, I won't go through them right now because I want to get to Denise. But essentially, he's proposed a bunch of requirements that the only way they would be enforced, they're storage requirements and a few other things. The only way you can enforce them is to have police come into your home and inspect your house without prior cause. The only way to enforce them is to actually come into your home and inspect the physical storage that you have for your firearms. You can't do that. You just simply can't do that. So why propose a law that is not enforceable without violating the Fourth Amendment? All right, so just things like that. There's other things like how it's stored in your car even. I mean, it's a complete violation of our individual sovereignty and our right to conduct our lives and how we want. And so it's just one more instance where unfortunately you have politicians who their response to tragedy is to restrict our liberties. Instead of just saying, hey, we recognize this is a tragedy, this is horrible, now let's move on. It's, oh, well, we must restrict rights. And what's most egregious in my mind is the fact that all of his proposals have nothing to do with what actually happened in Santa Fe. All of his proposals would not have changed one bit of the series of events that led up to the tragedy in Santa Fe. And all these storage requirements, reporting requirements. One of the proposals is that it would be, I believe, a felony or a Class A misdemeanor for failure to report stolen firearms. So again, we're going to start punishing you not doing something. Now, in my mind, why would you not report stolen firearms? That's already something that most of us who are logical human beings, we would do. Of course, we're going to report stolen property. But again, it has nothing to do with the Santa Fe shooting. They were not stolen firearms. The storage requirement. Anyway, I can get way off. But I wanted to let you guys know that I did that. And also, here's a call to action. June 25th, Monday, June 25th, I believe is the date. In fact, 3 weeks from today, I'm going to Austin because they're going to have the first in a series of hearings on these proposed regulations and laws. And so if anybody wants to come with me, please get in touch. I already have 2 people who have said they want to come with me. I'm going to be going because it's worth it to make our voice heard, to let our state legislators, let Governor Abbott know, hey, we don't stand for this. Gun rights are very serious. because as much as we all love our First Amendment, we only have a First Amendment because of the Second Amendment. Now, lest you think that I think that it's the amendments that grant us our rights, no, I'm very clear, I'm always very clear. God is the one who grants us our rights. The First and Second Amendments recognize a God-ordained right. So I just use First and Second as reference. I'm not trying to say that I'm one of these people. It's the amendments themselves, the words that grant us rights. No, they're just recognition of pre-existing God-ordained rights. But anyway, so that's my call to action, June 25th. We're going to bring up Denise now. Denise McNamara is running for State Party Vice Chair. And she has an incredible history with the party. I'm going to let her speak to all of that. And we'll give her a good 30 minutes. And if she ends a little bit early, we'll have some time for some Q&A. But please welcome Denise McNamara.
Thank you all. Howdy. It's great to be in Longview. It's a beautiful city. And Jeremiah is fabulous. I got to know him a little bit in Cleveland at the National Convention. And I've gotten to know him better since then. And he's a great leader. And you all are Tea Party people. I love Tea Party people. I feel like the Tea Party are the people who want common sense solutions. And I love that. That's kind of like our president right now, don't you think? I mean, how many Democrats does it take to solve a problem? We don't know. It's never been done. So, you know, I'm glad y'all are in the Tea Party. I am involved as a Christian conservative. Republican is a little bit on the peripheral for me because if our platform were to change, I would no longer be a Republican. But I am fortunate to be in the party that has the best platform right now. And as long as that's the case, I will be a Republican. But, you know, we have a higher calling, some of us, and we want the principles to be Christian principles, and we want to have a Christian government and a godly country. Otherwise, we're going to go down the tubes, and we know that. I am running for vice chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. And if Chairman Dickey is reelected, we have to elect a female vice chair. So if Chairman Dickey were to lose, then my race is a moot point. I won't be running. My campaign promise to you all is I will not change my gender identity to run as a man. I promise. And that's a sad commentary on our society, isn't it? That even is something to contemplate. It's crazy. But why should I have your support for vice chair? I have the experience, and folks, experience matters. If you look at my flyer, you can see that my depth and breadth of experience is extensive. And I have actually served on the SREC in either an RPT capacity or an RNC capacity in the past for 12 years. So I've seen many chairmen come and go, and I've experienced the national level and the state level, and I'm extremely prepared to be your vice chairman. And I enjoy going out to the grassroots, and I am a grassroots person. On the RNC, I kind of stick out like a sore thumb because those folks are not grassroots. They're mostly millionaire lobbyists, and they didn't always like my opinions. Back in '06, I was the Texas National Committee woman at the Republican National Convention, and unbelievably, despite my conservative grassroots bent, I was elected to the Standing Committee on Resolutions, one of only 8 people on the RNC out of 168. So that was incredible that I was elected to that, first of all. And then, lo and behold, our president from Texas, George W. Bush, started pushing amnesty. And I stood against that, and it was very uncomfortable. And I had many people coming up to me saying, "But you're from Texas, how can you do this to your president?" And I said, you know, I'm trying to help our president. Our grassroots do not want amnesty. And every time they've tried to force that on us, it's backfired. In '06, after that push, we lost the Congress. We lost a lot of elections around the country because people were discouraged by our elected officials. We need to tell them the way that we want them to vote, and we need to hold them accountable. And that goes back to Rule 44 here in Texas, which is one of our rules that I'm sure will be very widely debated at this upcoming state convention. a lot of folks do not want us to hold our elected officials accountable. They call it a circular firing squad, and I understand that point to some extent, but when you have elected officials who have a pattern, a long-standing pattern of flouting our most basic principles, which are pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-smaller government, then we have a duty to call them out. Otherwise, they'll never change, right? So that's one thing I think the State Republican Executive Committee should do, and as your Vice Chairman, I would do. And I would do it in a gracious and Christian manner. You don't need to be ugly to these people, but we need to always just point it out, and we need to remind them why we elected them. And once people are elected, it's sometimes hard to get rid of them. So, we have to stay in touch with our elected officials. So my experience, I've had 4 years on the State Republican Executive Committee. I've had 8 years on the Republican National Committee. I've served, the next thing that qualifies me is, I believe, our platform matters. I have served twice on the State Platform Committee, once in 2010 and once in 2016. I've also served, on the National Platform Committee in 2012 in Tampa Bay. I served representing Texas on the National Platform Committee. And my partner at that time was David Barton, and we held the line on a lot of things, and Texas is always a leader on that committee, and I was proud to do that. And then in 2016 at the state convention, we put together a fabulous platform, and there's a huge push to get rid of a lot of the things in our platform, but the reason I love it is I'm really happy that our platform is grassroots up, bottom up. It's not the establishment at the top telling us what we have to put in the platform. It comes from the precinct level to the senatorial county level to the state level, and it works its way up. And then, even if there's something that's not there at the state convention, you can go in front of that state convention committee and bring it up again. So it's a very grassroots process, and it enables us to have a voice. And as I like to say, sometimes our elected officials, they want us, the base of the party, they want us to be seen at the ballot box, but they don't want us to be heard in the platform. So we need to always be heard, and we need to, make sure that, again, we hold them accountable. Then another aspect of my experience and background is that I was a certified court reporter. I still am, actually, and owned a court reporting firm in Dallas for 20 years. I took depositions for attorneys, and many of you may know this, but some of you probably don't. I was actually the court reporter on the deposition of President Bill Clinton in the Paula Jones case. I was there in Washington, D.C. I heard the name Monica Lewinsky before anyone else, and it's quite a story, and I've actually traveled around the state speaking about it. The depositions were sealed. There's a process going on now that may unseal them, but I have approximately 27 depositions from that case. I traveled to Little Rock, where we deposed a beautiful young attorney general from Arkansas, Little Rock, who used to jog at midnight with President Bill Clinton. And they were just friends, but they jogged at midnight every night. And those type of depositions, because it was all about a pattern, establishing a pattern, and he had quite the pattern. And I can tell you a lot of stories about that. It was really kind of depressing to be deposing our president. He walked into the conference room and we all stood up because it's the President of the United States. And then we have to sit and listen to these embarrassing questions. And Bill Clinton went from looking perfectly normal to turning white as a ghost when he realized that my attorneys had spoken to Linda Tripp the night before and had gotten a lot of information about what had happened with Monica Lewinsky. And he knew his goose was cooked, I think, at that moment. So it was quite the experience of all the court reporters in the world for me to be there, because I was actually on the SREC at that time. So it was amazing. And I'll be glad to talk with you all about that sometime if you're interested. So I've got business experience, platform experience, party experience, and grassroots experience that is broad and wide. And I would ask for your vote for Vice Chairman. My goal would be, as Vice Chairman, GOP. G for grassroots, O for organization, P for platform and principles and priorities. In our last platform, we added, well, actually it's been there, I think, maybe more than one time. I was on it, the committee last time. We added legislative priorities. And we have 5, including constitutional carry, some very good property tax reform, some very good legislative priorities. And that will be debated, I'm sure, extensively at this convention again. We have to narrow it down to 5. Everybody has their favorite. And that gives us a way to lobby, as citizens, as grassroots conservatives, to go and lobby when the legislature convenes and say, look, our state convention passed these priorities, this is what we want done. And I think it's a great tool, so I'm happy that we've done that. And I believe that I've served under so many different state chairmen and national chairmen, and most of them, their propensity is to put the finger on the scale and tell you how to vote. You know, they tell the members of their committee, this is how we're going to vote. And if you don't vote the way I want, you're persona non grata. Well, James Dickey seems to be different. I've only recently gotten to know him, but he seems to be a chairman who really believes in transparency and really believes in fairness. Back in 2010, a lot of my friends, or 2008, a lot of my friends on the SREC, I was still National Committee woman, were trying to shut out all of the Ron Paul people. And I thought that was wrong, because we have rules, we have, you know, a process, and if people follow the rules and follow the process, then they should be allowed to participate, period, end of story. And you know, a lot of folks were threatened by the Ron Paul folks. Well, we've got lots of different types of Republicans. We have Tea Party Republicans, we have Christian conservative Republicans, we have libertarian Republicans, we have, unfortunately, we have log cabin Republicans. We have a lot of different kinds, but we're all one big family, and in the end, we have to come together, and we should always, unlike the Democrats, we should always stand for fairness and honesty and transparency, and I believe James Dickey will do that. I have every reason to believe that. I carried a proxy at the last SREC meeting and saw him in action, and he seemed to be doing a great job of that. He let everyone have their say, almost to a fault, because it went on quite a while. But that's better than not letting people have their say, and I've seen that happen, so I was happy to see that. And I really believe that he and I would make a fabulous team and would be able to raise money and romp and stomp and keep Texas red, because we want to make sure that we keep Texas great, because as Texas goes, so the United States will go. And just one note about Trump. You know, we've just now marked the 500th day of the Trump presidency. And I know some of you all may have been never Trumpers. I actually, when he came down the escalator and announced and talked about border security, I was excited, because nobody in our party will secure the border. In 2006, we passed the Secure Wall Act, a Secure Fence Act under Bush. They've never done it. They just did it to appease us, but they've never built it. The establishment in D.C., the swamp, are paid by lobbyists who want cheap labor, and the chambers of commerce want cheap labor, and many here in Texas want that, and I'm sure it's going to come up at this convention, the Texas solution, which is similar to amnesty, pretty much. And so I was excited that he focused on that, and I think that's one of the main reasons he won, was border security, national. It's not just border, it's national security. I mean, we have really bad people coming across the border, and I bought into the mainstream media's lies, the fake news. I bought into the fact that he had no chance. Nate Silver out of New York City, supposedly this, you know, genius guru pollster, said he only had a 3% chance to win. And I was pretty discouraged on the night of the election. And Tim and I and like Jeremiah and Kayla, we have 4 children. They're all grown, but they were there watching with us. And you know, I was really depressed that night. I thought, oh man, we're going to lose. And then, lo and behold, we won Florida. And then, lo and behold, we won Ohio. And it just kept going, and it was the most exciting night I remember, because we've had some very depressing nights in prior elections, right? And by the end of the night, my whole family, we were shouting, "Lock her up! Lock her up!" And we still need to lock her up. Let me tell you, she's still walking around free. There should not be two sets of laws in the United States. One for the elite and one for us. We would be rotting, and those poor young servicemen and women who take a selfie in a submarine will go to prison. Hillary was transmitting not only top secret, but the higher than that classification of national secrets, sources and methods on a server in a bathroom, and she has gotten away with that? She should be in prison. Period. End of story. And it's appalling to me. And I know that Trump, he knows a lot about all of that, and I believe something will eventually happen. Let's pray that it does, because really, truly, we should not have two sets of rules. It's just un-American. So, bottom line is, I think even though you may have been a never-Trumper, things are going well. As the Chinese curse says, may you live in interesting times. And we definitely live in interesting times. And we are awaiting the Office of Inspector General report, which has been delayed and delayed and delayed, and is supposed to come out now June 11th. And hopefully that will shed a lot of light on all of the shenanigans of the FBI and the DOJ. But bottom line, Texas is great. We need to keep Texas great. We cannot take our great state for granted. We have to remain vigilant. The Democrats are always working. They constantly have their mantra of a blue wave, which I think is in their imagination here in Texas. But we cannot become complacent. And we have a wonderful governor, a wonderful lieutenant governor, and we just need to make sure we work hard to keep Texas great. And I ask for your vote if you're going to be at the convention. And thank you so much for coming out and listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll be glad to take questions if you have any.
Does anybody have any immediate questions that you feel would benefit everyone here, specifically for Denise or even for Bob?
Yes, sir.
Would there be any consideration of using Rule 44 on Bush and his attempt to turn the Alamo over to the United Nations and re-image it, contrary to our Texas history and the founding of this great state?
I haven't heard all the details. I've seen rumblings about that. And if that's indeed the case, then sure. I mean, I don't really want any more Bushes in office myself. But, he won because of his name and because he has a lot of money. And it's sad. Sometimes that's all it takes is money. But I've heard a lot of mishandling of his position. And like I said, it's rumors, so I don't know the facts well enough to speak to it. But if he's doing that, then yes, I agree.
Denise, you probably told us, and I did not hear, but where do you live? And tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Sure, you bet. My husband Tim is back there in the Hawaiian shirt, and he's my driver, so I can be on the phone while I'm campaigning. But we're from Dallas, and I moved to Dallas in 1979. I grew up in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. And my parents are Blue Dog Democrats, Union John Deere workers, and they are appalled at me. Thanksgiving is very awkward. So, but when I became a small business owner and had to start paying payroll taxes and seeing how much they took out of your check and having the IRS harass us if we didn't make a payment, I knew I was a Republican. So conservative Republican, small government.
Anyone else questions for Denise? All right. Seeing enough, I'll come up and close our meeting here.
All right. Thank you all very much.
if you do have a question individually for Denise, make sure to catch her. However, they do have to drive back to Dallas tonight, so they can't stay terribly late. Do keep in mind. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close this up here in just a minute, but wanted to, before everyone gets going, I need to make good on a promise that I made in our meeting announcement. So this month, this meeting rather, marks 2 years that I have been chairman of the People-Longview Tea Party, and it's been awesome, and 2 years has gone by extremely quickly, and it's pretty amazing. It's also 4 years ago this month that I walked into my first We the People meeting. I was just one of these people who wanted to get involved in local politics and just figure out what is all this system going on. And quickly got as involved as I could and showing up all the time, and 2 years later, Cindy said, "Hey, Jeremiah, we're moving on. I want you to take over." I was like, wow, okay. And so it's been amazing. And over the last 2 years, we've been conducting our business in the way that we have. The organization is now just over 9 years old. And certainly the Tea Party movement is different than it was back in the so-called early days. It was originally a movement of sharpen your pitchforks, light your torches, and let's go storm the county courthouse. And that had its place, and certainly was effective. It's undeniable that the Tea Party movement, as a movement, has had a great effect. But any movement, as is likable to happen, changes in methods and hopefully not in philosophy. I think the Tea Party movement philosophically is still extremely strong, as is evidenced, especially at the statewide level. You have candidates who openly campaign as Tea Party conservatives. That is a label that has become very effective. What is changing, though, is the methods. The Tea Party movement is no longer an event-driven business, or movement, I should say. And that has been the case here with We the People. It's where we used to have a lot of people come to our meetings. We haven't been having that. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one is that we recognize that monthly meetings is something that is just not as popular as it used to be. And so myself, along with the board, that's why we made the decision to reduce our meetings, to try to make each monthly meeting that we do have, being every other month, be a little bit more of a unique experience rather than just one more thing on the monthly calendar to do. So that was our effort doing that. Something else that I have decided to do is to launch a new effort at engaging voters, educating voters, and getting people to understand how they can actively engage with their local, state level, even federal level elected officials. And so the last couple of months I've been working on doing that. And so what I am here to announce is that I am going to be forming a for-profit media company that is under the auspices of We the People-Longview, but it will be a separate organization. It's basically a way to work in concert with our local Tea Party movement, but it is going to be something that is a lot more focused on active messaging, active engagement. Instead of continuing to try to draw people into a meeting, and that will happen, our standard meetings will still happen. Our efforts to bring in quality speakers who are educating and informing people, bring them in, that is not changing one bit. What is changing, though, is basically my role and what I am trying to do to impact the local voter base, get people more engaged, rather than just asking them to come to a meeting that, as is evident, just a growing number of people aren't willing to do. And so our efforts is to say, all right, let's try something new and try to get different results. Engagement is very key. So some of that is going to be a lot of social media. It's undeniable that more and more people are on social media, and so we need to increase our efforts there. We have had a Facebook page for a long time. We upload our meeting videos to YouTube. We've been doing all of that. And so I'm going to expand that. I'm going to be doing a few bit more things with live streaming of meetings, with doing at least weekly live streamed, we'll call them studio shows, like what is now enabled on Facebook Live. YouTube has their own streaming services as well. So we're going to be doing some pretty interesting things there. Now, some of you may have picked on the fact that I said for-profit, and that is very key. I'm launching, it's a brand new business, and the reason for that is because, as we've very clearly seen over the last couple of years, especially here in Texas, politics has become weaponized, where it's now, if I disagree with you, I have permission to go after you with criminal laws or various forms of harassment. And that is all because, as good as our nonprofit laws are, and they have their place, unfortunately there's a lot of restrictions involved with being a nonprofit organization. And so we've seen, what with the IRS harassing Tea Party groups here in Texas, and then even our Texas Ethics Commission being used as a club to beat people over the head because of the slightest discrepancy. I've decided that we're just going to sidestep the whole thing. We're going to become, by we meaning me and those that are involved with this, we're going to become a for-profit media company so that we operate as a business instead of a political nonprofit. Still the same goals and some of the same methods and certainly the same philosophy in terms of what we're promoting, but in terms of organization, by operating as a for-profit media company, there are actually more protections involved in terms of people coming to us and saying, well, you can't say that. And I say, well, yeah, absolutely I can. And so that's really my efforts to try to increase the engagement locally, as well as with state level offices, and certainly tying in the Republican Party of Texas because of my personal connections involved there. Again, not to be a mouthpiece for them, but to supplement what they do and to highlight when they do things right. Now, James and everybody else knows that the second the Republican Party of Texas steps outside those bounds, then they won't have that support anymore. And so I was encouraged early on to stay independent. I was having some thoughts about trying to merge with other organizations or anything like that, and I was actually encouraged very early on to keep our independence. Certainly working together philosophically, but in terms of raw organization and leadership, it's very important to stay independent. So we're going to do that. I'm going to be, by using our existing email list and phone list and social media following, we're going to be putting out more information here in the very near future, the next couple of weeks, as things become much more official. But I said tonight was when we were going to announce the general philosophy, the goals, and hopefully that is exciting to all of you guys because it's something new. After 2 years of doing kind of the standard Tea Party thing, this is a new chapter for the organization. And we hope that we're going to see some different results than what we've seen. And so all of you be sure to pay attention to your emails. You may even get a phone call or two. And hopefully it's something that you'll join us in and encourage other people to look us up. And we're just going to see what happens. There's never any guarantee of success in any endeavor, but this is my effort as the leader of the Longview Tea Party movement, what we've been doing. We're gonna try it, and we're gonna do our best. There's a whole lot of things that we still have details to work out, but I wanted to just announce the overall intentions and just wish us luck and do all you can to join us for that. So with that though, it is 8:30, so we're gonna shut down. Any of our speakers that are still here, please do look them up and ask them a couple of questions. Those of you that are delegates from Gregg County or some of our Harrison folks as well, if you're joining us next week, please make sure, please make sure that you pay attention to the schedule of the convention. And in our SD caucuses, you need to be there. Thursday, midday, we're going to be electing our permanent committee members, so that's very important to be there if you can be there. And then Friday morning is when we elect our SRAC reps and the state party and state vice chair, state party chair and party vice chair. Those votes are 8 o'clock Friday morning. So do what you have to do to make sure and be there. Yes, it's early, but it's one of the most important times for you to be there. Then, of course, not to discount the rest of the time. Friday and Saturday are extremely important to be there. That's when all the debates are taking place about the rules and the platform. And so it's very important for you to be there. We just want to make sure that y'all were aware of those scheduling. The party has been very good. I'll get you in a second. The party's been very good about sending out a lot of emails for with information and training videos. Rachel Malone, the operations director, has done a great job at giving some kind of seminar-style videos of what to expect and the different things involved with going. If you have been a delegate in the past, that's wonderful, but I would say don't rest on your experience of past conventions to guide what happens here. We do have a new state chair, we have a whole new staff involved, so I anticipate it's going to be a very different convention. So just wanted to give that last encouragement. Denise, you had something real quick?
I did want to mention, I forgot to mention this, at the last convention, something unprecedented happened. They called for a floor vote on the National Committee, and National Committee vote after we had already voted in our caucuses. And the people who called for the floor vote,
The people who called for the vote on the floor on Saturday had won the election, and they called for a floor vote to try, I don't know what, or no, actually one of them had lost and one of them had won, that's right. And they called for a floor vote, and a lot of our people, after Ted Cruz spoke, they had gone home. And so it is important on Saturday to remain until everything is finished, because there are a lot of folks who are strategizing how they can get their people in office, and they'll use a floor vote to do that. Or change the platform also, both things on the last day.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, Saturday, don't leave. Don't leave. I mean, of course, if you have to, okay, that's up to you, but I'm saying just in terms of actually attending, if you can, do not leave until the convention has actually been adjourned. Because prior to then, there are all sorts of legislative maneuvers, not legislative, parliamentary procedure maneuvers, things that can be done, and those of us who really want to make sure that the will of the majority prevails need to be just as mind-numbing as it can sometimes get. And this will be my third state convention, so I'm not saying I'm really experienced, but I'm saying I've been there before. As mind-numbing and maddening as it can sometimes be, it's important to stay there all the way to the end, because guess what? The establishment, the people who want to see things differently, they know that so many people get frustrated and leave. And they know all they got to do is make it difficult enough for the people who aren't quite as committed to being there. They just know they got to just get those people to leave, and then they can do everything else. So until the convention is actually done, please, I'm begging you as a grassroots activist, don't leave. If you got to, okay, well, that's up to you. But I'm just saying, don't just be like, don't throw up your hands and leave, because that's what they want you to do. And by they, I mean the establishment and all of that. So, any final thoughts before we see each other in San Antonio next week? Okay. I hear the thunder out there, so stay dry on the way home. I do appreciate everyone coming. We're going to be posting this video as soon as possible, either later tonight or tomorrow morning. All of your other delegate friends that are going, please have them watch this video, get to know some of the candidates involved. I'm being reminded, next Monday, a week from today, our friends at East Texas for Liberty in Gilmer are hosting a similar style meeting with some other candidates. The other lady who is running for state vice chair, Alma Jackson from San Antonio, she was invited to this meeting. She wasn't able to make it, but she is going to be up in Gilmer next week if you would like to also hear from her. And then there's going to be some other candidates there as well if you can make that. I promised Stacy I would mention it, and don't want to get Stacy mad at me. She's great. She's awesome. So with that, we are adjourned.